Welcome back to another video in the Write an Essay with Me series. We've previously covered pre-writing, researching, outlining, and drafting in academic essay writing, and congratulations, you are over the hill and it is now time to begin the revisions process. So the revision stage is, for me, the last stage before final draft submission. So let's just get straight into it because you are so ready to just knock this project out of the park, stop working on it, turn it in, and never look back. If you don't know who I am, my name is Jenna Van Mourik. I'm an avid reader, a fiction writer, and a book reviewer, and I'm also an English tutor at the collegiate writing level, which is technically the real job. In this series, I'm breaking down my personal academic essay writing strategy, which is how I've approached essay writing for nearly every single essay that I've been assigned since junior high, and this is also how I tutor my students as well. To show you how this process actually works, I'm actually going to be writing an essay with you and building it from the ground up. We're going to be looking at a real essay that I've actually written for one of my courses that I've turned in and gotten an A on and gotten instructor feedback from. For those of you who are watching these videos as they come out, you might not have time to wait for the full series if you have a due date coming up, and for those of you that would like to have an even more personal resource, I am proud to announce that I am offering a free PDF downloadable resource. What I'm offering is a 25-page workbook titled Write Your Essay. You can use this workbook to plan, draft, or complete virtually any academic writing project, whether it's a research project, a literary analysis paper, a personal essay, or anything in between. All you have to do is subscribe to my author newsletter at www.authorjennavanmourik.com. You'll be emailed a short welcome letter thanking you for subscribing and giving you the super secret password to my resources tab on my website. You'll find all of these academic writing helps under the For Students tab over there, and this free workbook will be available there, as well as some other posters, infographics, and other things that are more specifically focused on certain parts of the writing process and academic writing. It really is that easy to get, but if you'd like to hear me talk through this process more in depth and physically teach you and show you how this works and how you can apply this workbook and the steps included in it to a real life essay, then be sure you keep on watching these videos. So ideally, you're going to want to take a break before you jump in with a red pen. This will give you fresh perspective on your essay, and when you finally do come back to the project, you may notice things that you wouldn't have noticed before, whether it's as small as a spelling error or as big as a content development issue. So ideally, once you finish the rough draft, go to bed, get some sleep. If you pulled an all-nighter, you need to get some rest, get some snacks, reward yourself with some ice cream, or maybe go out to get a burrito, and then come back to it later when you have a bit more of a fresh mind and a fresh perspective, and you're refreshed and you can just have new ideas, because odds are, if you've been working on it for a really long time, you're going to be burnt out. And being burnt out is no good for anybody. It's not good for you, it's not good for your grade, it's not good for your paper. So when you do come back, I highly recommend reading your essay through once out loud. I know it's cliche. I know people are always like, read the sentence out loud and see if you can find any errors, but it is so true. You'd be surprised how much you'll pick up this way as opposed to just reading from a computer screen, because looking at this, I've been looking at this forever and I've already seen it enough. I'm done. But if you're reading from a computer screen, switching up the format can really help you, and reading it out loud will help you just kind of cognitively be more aware of how your essay sounds, how all of your points are coming across. If you're in college and you're living in a dorm with like 3 other people, for me, I lived in a suite of 6 girls. It was a lot. If you're not comfortable reading out loud, I totally get it. Nobody likes an audience for something that isn't perfect or that they want to keep private. So try printing it out or even emailing it to yourself and reading it from your smartphone or another device, because the change of format alone, even if you can't read it out loud, will help you pick up on so many different issues. You may have stared at the same spelling error on your computer for hours and not even noticed it. But once you print it out onto a physical piece of paper, or maybe you're looking at it on your smartphone or a different device, you could be like, what? That error was there the whole time? I totally didn't notice it when I was looking at it on my computer. And that's because you got burnt out. Your brain was like, I've been looking at this for forever and I quit. I just quit working. So during your initial read through, some things you might want to keep an eye out for are content development issues. So that's things like, are all of your arguments or points clearly or logically explained? You're going to want to look for synthesis. So does your essay show that you are not only able to recall information and quote it, but does it also show that you're able to interpret it or offer an explanation? Look out for awkward sentence structures, so things that just don't make sense and you're like, what? That makes no sense. That you might need to rephrase. And then, of course, grammar and syntax and spelling. And, of course, making sure that every piece of outside information is properly cited according to your rubric or instructor guidelines, because we want to avoid plagiarism. Plagiarism is bad. So once you've done a read through on your own, it's time to get feedback from someone else. So it's important to see what other people think before you turn it into your professor or click publish. Why? Because you've been staring at this essay for hours, maybe even days or weeks, and everything in it probably makes sense to you. Because after all, you have studied this material endlessly. But if you can, send it to someone who hasn't studied that same material, or maybe who doesn't have as extensive of knowledge on that subject as you do. They'll be able to tell you how well you explained everything to them and how well your arguments were constructed, or if everything made sense from their perspective as someone who isn't familiar with the source material. And that's really important and really key as well. If they come back with constructive criticism, don't freak out. Don't get all upset. Like, what? You totally didn't understand. You ruined my essay. You can use that criticism to make your paper stronger, and you should always look at it as an opportunity to improve, develop, learn, and grow. So some tips for getting good constructive criticism from your peers would be to, 1, find trusted peers or classmates who can review your work and give you honest feedback. Or 2, consider working with a writing tutor or a writing coach. As a tutor myself, I would encourage you to know what questions to ask your coach, because oftentimes I can get students who simply just send me their essay and they're like, here, fix it. And I'm like, well, what areas are you specifically concerned about? Because in this way, I will be able to provide more specific feedback and actually be able to help you in the areas where you feel that you need help. So if you're working with a coach or a writing tutor or somebody else, maybe an instructor or a TA, or you're getting help from a classmate, just from a peer, okay? So have questions ready to ask. What areas do you feel confident about? And what areas do you lack confidence? Do you have any specific concerns? Maybe you're feeling really good about your introduction and you don't necessarily want as much help with that, but you're really struggling with your thesis statement overall and you don't know if it's well developed. Or perhaps you like your quotes, but you have no clue how to incorporate them. So maybe you're struggling to offer interpretation or explanation of your quotes, or you're struggling to come up with transitional phrases to distinguish between your words and another source's words. So maybe just mentioning that to whoever you're working with and being like, hey, this is my paper. I'd appreciate any feedback, but I'd specifically like help with these areas, because the more open you are with your tutor or instructor or whoever you're working with, the more they'll be able to help you in those specific areas and provide you with specialized feedback to help you learn and build and grow. And the third way of getting good feedback that I can offer you is to finally, after you've gotten the feedback, apply the necessary changes, but apply them with discretion. Remember, it's up to you to decide what is best for your essay. Ultimately, you're the author, and you may not always agree with the feedback. Some of it may be warranted, but there may be other pieces that you might just be like, I don't know about that. It's just all about discretion, taking feedback with a grain of salt, and then also looking critically at your paper to see which criticisms actually will help your paper make it stronger from your perspective as the author, and then which criticism would actually maybe not apply or maybe wouldn't work as well in the paper that you've imagined. It's up to you as the author to decide what is best for your essay and what will make your project better in the long run. Finally, it's going to be time to proofread. After you've gotten all the feedback from other people, as many people as you can get, and maybe the time constraint that you have, just go straight to proofreading. The last thing that you want ruining your paper after you've done so much hard work is a small spelling error or a misplaced punctuation mark. When you've done so much to polish your essay, those little details will really stick out. So do one last final read through of your paper, but this time look for things like run-on sentences, punctuation errors, spelling errors, word choice errors, inconsistent verb tense, inconsistent formatting, repetitive words or redundancy. These are, of course, just a few basic things that I see a lot of, but you get the idea. You can also use your computer's word processor. your computer word processor's grammar check or spelling check programs to catch any other errors, but remember to double check those as well. Don't just click accept all changes and move on, because even computers have been known to make mistakes in some cases. I also highly recommend the program Grammarly. If you have the money to spend on the premium version, I think it's definitely worth it. I've used it myself for the last few years, and if proper grammar is something that you really struggle with or it's just really important to you, it's definitely worth the investment, in my opinion, to get the premium version of Grammarly. But if you don't have the money to pay for that, though, the free version is still just as good of a resource, and I highly recommend it for just being that final step, that last bit that you do to really make sure that your essay is as good as it can be before you turn it in. Those are all of my tips for revising, getting feedback, and proofreading. If you have any additional tips, tricks, comments, or ideas, then absolutely feel free to leave those in the comment section below. If you haven't already, then don't forget to check out all of the other videos in this academic writing series. I will be leaving a full playlist link below for those of you who are interested in improving your academic writing craft. This series isn't over yet, though, because next week we're going to be talking all about final draft submission. Because yes, I still have some wisdom and encouragement that I'd like to share with you as you approach the publishing stage. If you enjoyed this video, then don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. And if you absolutely just can't wait for the rest of this series because maybe you have a writing project that's due tomorrow instead of in a couple of weeks when this series continues to come out, then don't forget to download the free 25-page workbook, Write Your Essay, via my website today. That's www.authorjennavanmourik.com. The workbook is full of all kinds of activity sheets and helpful information, definitions, and examples to make the approach to academic writing so much easier, whether you're doing a full-on research paper or just a short proposal for something. You don't want to miss out on this resource, and again, it's free, so why wouldn't you go take a look at it? All you have to do is sign up for the newsletter, head over to the resources tab, enter the password that comes in the welcome letter from a newsletter, and the world is yours. My name is Jenna Van Mourik. I'm an inspired writer and an inspirational fiction reader who reads, writes, and lives for Jesus. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button on your way out so that you never miss when I post a new video. I post 2 videos every week to my YouTube channel here. One is always going to be a writing video, whether that's going to be fiction writing or academic writing, as it is in this case, and the other will be a reading/bookish fun video as well. So if either of those or both are something that you're interested in, then be sure to stick around for more. You can find me on social media at Jenna Van Mourik or on my website, like I already said, www.authorjennavanmourik.com. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!